So I just watched the latest Universal Monsters movie, Wolfman, and it was very, very interesting. So let's review it. So the first thing I want to talk about in this review is the story. Now the story is really, really good in this movie. It is very suspenseful and very, very well written and well done and well executed by the actors and actresses on screen, and the writers and directors should really pat themselves on the back for pulling this off, because we've gotten a Wolfman movie before and it was terrible, but this movie is a huge step up from that. Not only is it of course a reboot, but it is just so much better quality and a way better story this time around, and the story is one of the best things about this movie. It is just so very well done. So now I want to talk about basically the main character of the movie, our big horror icon of the film, the Wolfman, played greatly by Christopher Abbott. He portrays this character very eerie and very, very greatly, and is definitely my favorite part of the movie anytime he's on screen, especially in the transformation scene where he turns from human into the wolf. That is hands down my favorite scene because of how well done it is, and also it is a major thing. So it's like if they didn't pull it off, then it would probably ruin the movie for me and a bunch of fans, but if they pull it off right, which they ended up doing, then it could really be a cool scene to add to an already pretty damn good movie. But yeah, the transition was amazing, and just everything that they do with the werewolf character is honestly amazing, and Wolfman is definitely a sight to see. He's very scary and is very well portrayed, and is, like I said, my favorite part of this movie. Anytime he's on screen, he just crushes it and does such an amazing job, and the writers and directors did really, really well executing his character. They should really pat themselves on the back for that, because nowadays with bringing back Universal monsters like Wolfman, it's hard to really do a good story, have a good actor portray him, but this movie really, really managed to pull it off. So now I want to talk about the characters. Now the characters are very, very likable in this movie and beautifully portrayed, and of course well written and well executed by the actors and actresses on screen, and honestly the actors and actresses should pat themselves on the back, because it is hard to really bring suspense and bring the action, bring the horror into any role really, and especially for like young kids, because as I remember, I haven't seen this movie in a few weeks, but as I remember, I'm pretty sure there was at least like one little kid. But yeah, any actor or actress should just pat themselves on the back for pulling this movie off really, because honestly the hardest thing to do in any movie is to bring something that already exists back to life, because this is a reboot of another Wolfman movie that happened already. So it is a reboot, which means like the stakes are high. You know, you have to meet expectations for like fans of that first Wolfman movie. You have to meet those same expectations. You have to make sure the story is perfect. You have to make sure everything is perfect, and kind of like recap and bring something new and put your own spin in it. And I feel like the actresses and actors and writers and the directors really, really did a amazing job, and should really just pat themselves on the back for that. And we should honestly be giving them a round of applause because of what beautiful work they did with this movie. Because throughout the entire runtime, from the second it started to the second it ended, it was honestly a blast, and very, very scary, very, very fun, very, very suspenseful. Everything good, really. Everything good. And there's like almost nothing really negative I have to say about this movie, and that is a very huge and important compliment, you know, because it's very rare that I could find no flaws in anything, because usually there's always something wrong with a movie or a television show, but this I can't really find any, and that just means it's good. So the next and last thing I want to talk about in this review is the cinematography. Now the cinematography is another really, really good thing I could say about this movie. The cinematography in this movie is just perfect, and it is amazing, and I enjoy a lot of it, man. The cinematography is just so well done. The camera work and the angles as these characters are interacting or in action sequences, the camera work is just gorgeous, and the way it just portrays the scary and empty woods is just beautiful as well. It's all just so very well done, man, and this movie is just so awesome. And the cinematography is another really, really good thing I could say about this movie, in addition to all the other good things I have to say about this movie, you know, because honestly the list of good things with this movie just keeps going on and on and on, because I can't really find any negatives, and that is just such a good thing to say, and I'm honored to say that, because it's hard to come by a really fantastic movie that nails all these things down perfectly. The suspense, the horror, the action, everything. I just love this movie, and it is a perfect resurrection, aka reboot, to what we know and love about the Wolfman story. So now it's time for my final thoughts. Now, for action, I'm gonna give 2 stars. It's not really action-packed, I don't think, and even if it really was, I don't really think of it as too, awesome of action sequences, but it's good enough to the point where it gets 2 stars. Now, comedy, I'm gonna give 1 star. Due to it obviously being a horror movie, there's not much things that actually happen in this movie that you'll consider funny, and really no lines of dialogues from these characters are funny at all. Nothing they do is funny. It's overall not really the type of horror movie that is funny, which usually funny horror movies are always the bad horror movies, depending on how they depict the humor. So for drama, that gets 3 stars. The drama in this movie is actually really, really well done, and honestly is one of the best things about this movie. Now finally, the suspense, I'm gonna give 3 stars to. The suspense is really, really well, because of course it's a horror movie, and it's one of those types of horror movies where they lean a lot on suspense, and suspense is great. It really makes a horror movie really, really good, really, really scary, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat, and that's what I like most about horror movies. So overall, this movie is getting an 8 out of 10, and it is definitely a movie that you should see in theaters. But that is my review on Wolfman. I'd like to know what you guys thought of the movie. Type it in the comment section down below. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys on the next review.